Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted Krishna as Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman. Every living being is Brahman, but the Supreme Living Being or the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Brahman. Parandhama means that he is the supreme rest or abode of everything. Pavitram means that he is pure, untainted by material contamination. Purusham means that he is the supreme enjoyer. Divyam, transcendental. Adidevam, the supreme personality of Godhead. Ajam, the unborn. And Vibhum, the greatest, the all pervading. Now, one may think that because Krishna was the friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this by way of flattery, but Arjuna, just to drive out this kind of doubt from the minds of the readers of Bhagavad Gita, substantiates these praises in the next verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead not only by himself but by authorities like the sage Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasadeva, and so on. These are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever he says to be completely perfect. Sarvam etad rutam manye. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand and that he cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So, how can a human being understand Sri Krishna without becoming his devotee? Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, at least theoretically, according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita. We should therefore at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, and with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently, this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a very few who are actually inquiring about their position as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering but rather wants to make a solution to all sufferings, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jignasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna. Lord Krishna descends specifically to re establish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. Even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position, and for him, this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all followed by the tiger of Nescience, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance, but Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. The subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of five basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entities, jivas. There is Ishvara, which means controller, and there are jivas, the living entities, which are controlled. If a living entity says that he is not controlled, but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with the Ishvara, the supreme controller, and the Jivas, the controlled living entities. Prakriti, or material nature, and time, or the duration of existence of the whole universe, or the manifestation of material nature, and karma, or activity, are also described. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, and how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entities are. Out of these five basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead, or Krishna, or Brahman, or Supreme Controller, or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs, over material nature, etc., as will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, Prakriti is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation, there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of the automobile's engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is a driver under whose direction everything is working. Now, the jivas or the living entities have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in the later chapters, as his parts and parcels. A particle of gold is also gold. A drop of water from the ocean is also salty. And similarly, we, the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara, or Bhagavan, Lord Sri Krishna, have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute quantity because we are minute Ishwaras, subordinate Ishwaras. We are trying to control nature as presently we are trying to control space or planets. And this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have a tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the supreme controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior nature, superior prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Apareyam itastvanyam. This Prakriti is my lower nature. Prakritim vidhi me param, jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. And beyond this, there is another Prakriti, jiva bhutam, the living entity. Prakriti itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer. But then, say I have lost all my money in business, then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Ishvara, or the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, eternal time, and karma, or activity, are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false, it is accepted as real but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related. So, the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial, but we can change the results of our karma or our activity. And this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. The position of Ishvara is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the jiva, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva Prakriti is called superior because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetrajnaha, conscious, as is the living being. But the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies. Because he lives in the heart of every living being, he is conscious of the psychic movements of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we put on and take off old clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the five items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, four are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. The supreme conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances, just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be a certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Mayadhyakshena Prakritihi. When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities, rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know the activities of the devotee or of the Lord. Such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thoughts of false bodily conceptions cannot understand his situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for the transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, the definition of liberation is given. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness, and therefore we find at the last stage of the Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the Lord. But for us, there is the affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the Supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the conditioned souls. What is this consciousness? This consciousness is I am. Then what am I? In contaminated consciousness, I am means I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually, the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer. And the living entity, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. He is the created and the enjoyed. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine, and a part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, feet, eyes, legs, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its root, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is to be kept in a healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. We'll stop here. We will continue to read tomorrow. Thank you so much for being part of the reading session. Request all of you to please share one or two points of learning from today's reading session in your respective WhatsApp groups. Thank you very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण
हरे
प्रभु.
कृष्ण प्रभु.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Introduction. We shall continue to read from where we left yesterday. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, feet, eyes, legs, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its root, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is to be kept in a healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we, as subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy Him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be. The central figure of creation and of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. By cooperation, they enjoy. The relation is also like that of the master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material nature are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord who has created the manifested cosmic world. We shall find, therefore, in this Bhagavad Gita that the complete whole is comprised of the Supreme Controller, the controlled living entities, the cosmic manifestation, eternal time, and karma or activities. And all of these are explained in this text. All of these taken completely form all of these taken completely from the complete whole, and the complete whole is called the Supreme Absolute Truth. The complete whole and the complete absolute truth are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. All manifestations are due to his different energies. He is the complete whole. It is also explained in the Gita that impersonal Brahman is also subordinate to the complete. Brahman is more explicitly explained in the Brahma Sutra to be like the rays of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahman is the shining rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is incomplete realization of the Absolute Whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma in the 12th chapter. There it shall be seen that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, is above both impersonal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchidananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in this way: Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause, and he is the very form of eternal he is the very form of eternal being, knowledge and bliss. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat or being feature. Paramatma realization is the realization of the Chit or eternal knowledge feature. But realization of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is realization of all the transcendental features, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, or being, knowledge, bliss, in complete Vigraha or form. People with less intelligence consider the Supreme Truth to be impersonal, but he is a transcendental person, and this is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. As we are all individual living beings and have our individuality, the supreme absolute truth is also in the ultimate issue a person, and realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of all the transcendental features. The complete whole is not formless. If he is formless, or if he is less than any other being, any other thing, then he cannot be the complete whole. The complete whole must have everything within our experience and beyond our experience. Otherwise, it cannot be complete. The complete whole personality of Godhead has immense potencies. How Krishna is acting in different potencies is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. This phenomenal world or material world in which we are placed is also complete in itself because the 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation, according to Sankhya philosophy, are completely adjusted to produce complete resources which are necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. There is nothing extraneous, nor is there anything needed. This manifestation has its own time fixed by the energy of the Supreme Whole, and when its time is complete, these temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. There is complete facility for the small complete units, namely the living entities, to realize the complete, and all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete. So, Bhagavad Gita contains the complete knowledge of Vedic wisdom. All Vedic knowledge is infallible, and Hindus accept Vedic knowledge to be complete and infallible. For example, cow dung is the stool of an animal, and according to Smriti or Vedic injunction, if one touches the stool of an animal, he has to take a bath to purify himself. But in the Vedic scriptures, cow dung is considered to be a purifying agent. One might consider this to be contradictory, but it is accepted because it is Vedic injunction, and indeed, by accepting this, one will not commit a mistake. Subsequently, it has been proved by modern science that cow dung contains all antiseptic properties. So, Vedic knowledge is complete because it is above all doubts and mistakes, and Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. We have to accept perfect knowledge, which comes down as is stated in Bhagavad Gita by the parampara disciplic succession. We have to receive knowledge from the proper source in disciplic succession, beginning with the supreme spiritual master, the Lord Himself, and handed down to a succession of spiritual masters. Arjuna, the student who took lessons from Lord Sri Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portion of Bhagavad Gita and not another. No, we must accept Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental sources, and the first words were spoken by the Lord Himself. The words spoken by the Lord are different from words spoken by a person of mundane world who is infected with four defects. A mundaner, number one, is sure to commit mistakes. Number two, is invariably illusioned. Number three, has the tendency to cheat others. And number four, is limited by imperfect senses. With these four imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all pervading knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted unto the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples as he originally received it from the Lord. The Lord is Purnam, all perfect, and there is no possibility of his becoming subjected to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that the Lord is the only proprietor of everything in the universe and that he is the original creator, the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as Prapitamaha because Brahma is addressed as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and he is the creator of the grandfather. So no one should claim to be the proprietor of anything. One should accept only things which are set aside for him by the Lord as his quota for his managing, for his maintenance. There are many examples given of how we are to utilize those things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsmen. This decision was based on the body because he was thinking that the body was himself and that his bodily relations or expansions were his brothers, nephews, brothers in law, grandfathers, and so on. He was thinking in this way to satisfy his bodily demands. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord just to change this view, and at the end, Arjuna decides to fight under the directions of the Lord when he says, Karishye Vachanam Tava, I shall act according to thy word. In this world, man is not meant to toil like hogs. He must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like an ordinary animal. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and the essence is given in Bhagavad Gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. The Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, of passion, and of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also: eatables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described. And if we properly utilize the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we will be able to reach the destination which is beyond this material sky. That destination is called the Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of the material world. Whether we use an example, this body, or a piece of fruit, or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. This world consists of another nature which is Sanatana, eternal. Jiva is also described as Sanatana, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatana in the 11th chapter. We have an intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are all qualitatively one, the Sanatana Dhamma or sky, the Sanatana Supreme Personality, and the Sanatana living entities. The whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatana occupation or Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. That is called our pure life. The Supreme Lord and His transcendental abode are both Sanatana, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatana abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are His sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yonishu Aham Bija Prada Pita. I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas. But here the Lord claims that He is the father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen, conditioned souls to call them back to the Sanatana eternal sky so that the Sanatana living entities may regain their eternal Sanatana positions in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes Himself in different incarnations, or He sends His confidential servants as sons, or His associates, or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatana Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatana as that which has neither beginning nor end. So, when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sri Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sri Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Yet, those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all the people of the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe. Non Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatana Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatana Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion. When Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Swarupa of every living being, the Lord replied that the Swarupa or constitutional position of the living being is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living being in two capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend, the mother serves the son, the wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters therefore give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in the terms of the eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings, and therefore we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living being. Yet man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstance, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect. Such designations are non Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, in all circumstances, is servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of sect is not to profess one's Sanatana Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatana Dharma. Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we living entities are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. It is stated in the 7th chapter, 20th verse. कामैस्तैस्तैहृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्ते अन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. We shall continue to read tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining. Please share your points of learning, at least one point, on your respective groups. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.
Hare Krishna.
Session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Introduction. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 20. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. When we mention the name Krishna, we do not refer to any sectarian name. Krishna means the highest pleasure, and it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir or storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure. Anandamayo Abhyasat. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. The living entities, like the Lord, are full of consciousness and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if the living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, and take part in His association, then they also become happy. The Lord descends to this mortal world to show His pastimes in Vrindavana, which are full of happiness. When Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his cowherd boyfriends, with his damsel friends, with the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and with the cows were all full of happiness. The total population of Vrindavan knew nothing but Krishna. But Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nanda Maharaj from worshipping the demigod Indra because he wanted to establish the fact that people need not worship any demigod. They need only worship the Supreme Lord this because their ultimate goal is to return to his abode. The abode of Lord Sri Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 6th verse. न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम paramam mama. That abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon nor by electricity, and anyone who reaches it never comes back to this material world. This verse gives a description of that eternal sky. Of course, we have a material conception of the sky, and we think of it in relationship to the sun, moon, stars, and so on. But in this verse, the Lord states that in the eternal sky there is no need for the sun, nor for the moon, nor fire of any kind, because the spiritual sky is already illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti, the rays emanating from the Supreme Lord. We are trying with difficulty to reach other planets, but it is not difficult to understand the abode of the Supreme Lord. This abode is referred to as Goloka. In the Brahma Samhita, it is beautifully described. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhutaha. The Lord resides eternally in his abode Goloka, yet he can be approached from this world. And to this end, the Lord comes to manifest his real form, Satchidananda Vigraha. When he manifests this form, there is no need for our imagining what he looks like. To discourage such imaginative speculation, he descends and exhibits himself as he is, as Shyamasundara. Unfortunately, the less intelligent deride him because he comes as one of us and plays with us as a human being. But because of this, we should not consider that the Lord is one of us. It is by his potency that he presents himself in his real form before us and displays his pastimes, which are prototypes of those pastimes found in his abode. In the effulgent rays of the spiritual sky, there are innumerable planets floating. The Brahma Jyoti emanates from the supreme abode, Krishna Loka, and the Anandamaya Chinmaya planets, which are not material, float in those rays. The Lord says न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. One who can approach that spiritual sky is not required to descend again to the material sky. In the material sky, even if we approach the highest planet, Brahmaloka, what to speak of the moon, we will find the same conditions of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. No planet in the material universe is free from these four principles of material existence. Therefore, the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartinorjuna. The living entities are traveling from one planet to another not by mechanical arrangement but by a spiritual process. This is also mentioned. Yanti devavrata devan pitrun yanti pitruvrataha. No mechanical arrangement is necessary if we want interplanetary travel. The Gita instructs Yanti devavrata devan. The moon, the sun, and higher planets are called Swargaloka. There are three different statuses of planets: higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. The Earth belongs to the middle planetary system. Bhagavad Gita informs us how to travel to the higher planetary systems or Devaloka with a very simple formula. Yanti Devavrata Devan. One need only worship the particular demigod of that particular planet, and in that way go to the moon, the sun, or any of the higher planetary systems. Yet Bhagavad Gita does not advise us to go to any of the planets in this material world because even if we go to Brahmaloka, the highest planet, through some sort of mechanical contrivance by maybe traveling for 40,000 years, and who would live that long, we will still find the material inconveniences of birth, death, disease, and old age. But one who wants to approach the supreme planet, Krishnaloka, or any of the other planets within the spiritual sky, will not meet with these material inconveniences. Amongst all of the planets in the spiritual sky, there is one supreme planet called Goloka Vrindavana, which is the original planet in the abode of the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. All of this information is given in Bhagavad Gita, and we are given through its instructive information how to leave the material world and begin a truly blissful life in the spiritual sky. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the real picture of the material world is given. It is said there, Urdhvamulam madhashakam ashwatham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedavit. The Supreme Lord said, there is a banyan tree which has its roots upward and its branches down, and the Vedic hymns are its leaves. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita 15.1. Here, the material world is described as a tree whose roots are upwards and branches are below. We have experience of a tree whose roots are upward. If one stands on the bank of a river or any reservoir of water, he can see that the tree reflected in the water are upside down. The trees reflected in the water are upside down. The branches go downward and the roots upward. Similarly, this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. The material world is but a shadow of reality. In the shadow, there is no reality or substantiality, but from the shadow, we can understand that there is substance and reality. In the desert, there is no water, but the mirage indicates, suggests that there is such a thing as water. In the material world, there is no water, there is no happiness, but the real water of actual happiness is there in the spiritual world. The Lord suggests that we attain the spiritual world in the following manner. Nirmana mohajita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसंज्ञैः गच्छन्त्यमूढा padamavyayam tat. That padam avyayam or eternal kingdom can be achieved by one who is nirmana moha. What does this mean? We are after designations. Someone wants to become a son, someone wants to become Lord, someone wants to become the president or a rich man or a king or something else. As long as we are attached to these designations, we are attached to the body because designations belong to the body. But we are not these bodies. And realizing this is the first stage in spiritual realization. We are associated with the three modes of material nature, but we must become detached through devotional service to the Lord. If we are not attached to devotional service to the Lord, then we cannot become detached from the modes of material nature. Designations and attachments are due to our lust and desire, our wanting to lord it over the material nature. As long as we do not give up this propensity of lording it over material nature, there is no possibility of returning to the kingdom of the Supreme, the Sanatana Dharma. That eternal kingdom, which is never destroyed, can be approached by one who is not bewildered by the attractions of false material enjoyments, who is situated in the service of the Supreme Lord. One so situated can easily approach that supreme abode. Elsewhere in the Gita, it is stated, Avyaktoksara ityuktas paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Avyakta means unmanifested. Not even all of the material world is manifested before us. Our senses are so imperfect that we cannot even see all of the stars within this material universe. In Vedic literature, we can receive much information about all the planets, and we can believe it or not believe it. All of the important planets are described in Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. And the spiritual world, which is beyond this material sky, is described as avyakta, unmanifested. One should desire and hanker after that supreme kingdom, for when one attains that kingdom, he does not have to return to this material world. Next, one may raise the question of how one goes about approaching that abode of the Supreme Lord. Information of this is given in the 8th chapter. It is said there, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. Anyone who quits his body at the end of life, remembering me, attains immediately to my nature, and there is no doubt of this. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 5. One who thinks of Krishna at the time of his death goes to Krishna. One must remember the form of Krishna. If he quits his body thinking of this form, he approaches the spiritual kingdom. Madbhavam refers to the supreme nature of the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being is Satchidananda Vigraha, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Our present body is not Satchidananda. It is asat, not sat. It is not eternal, it is perishable. It is not chit, full of knowledge, but it is full of ignorance. We have no knowledge of the spiritual kingdom, nor do we even have perfect knowledge of this material world where there are so many things unknown to us. The body is also Nirananda. Instead of being full of bliss, it is full of misery. All of the miseries we experience in the material world arise from the body. But one who leaves this body thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at once attains a Satchidananda body, as is promised in this fifth verse of the eighth chapter, where Lord Krishna says, he attains my nature. The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. A man dies after it has been decided what form of body he will have in the next life. Higher authorities, not the living entity himself, makes this decision. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is a preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this material body, we will attain a spiritual body just like the Lord. As explained before, there are different kinds of transcendentalists: the Brahmavadi, Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. And as mentioned in the Brahma Jyoti spiritual sky, there are innumerable spiritual planets. The number of these planets is far, far greater than all of the planets of this material world. This material world has been approximated as only one quarter of the creation. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes with trillions of planets and suns, stars, and moons. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. One who desires to merge into the existence of the Supreme Brahman is at once transferred to the Brahma Jyoti of the Supreme Lord and thus attains the spiritual sky. The devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets, which are innumerable, and the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansions as Narayana with four hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Govinda, etc., associates with him there. Therefore, at the end of life, the transcendentalists either think of the Brahmajyoti, the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In all cases, they enter into the spiritual sky, but only the devotee or he who is in personal touch with the Supreme Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets. The Lord further adds that of this there is no doubt. This must be believed firmly. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. Our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him as Brahman or Paramatma or as the personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky, there is no doubt about it. There is no question of disbelieving it. The information on how to think of the Supreme Being at the time of death is also given in the Gita. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. In whatever condition one quits his present body, in his next life, he will attain to that state of being without fail. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 6. Material nature is a display of one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. In the Vishnu Purana, the total energies of the Supreme Lord, as Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, etc., are delineated. The Supreme Lord has diverse and innumerable energies which are beyond our conception. However, great learned sages or liberated souls have studied these energies and have analyzed them into three parts. All of the energies of Vishnu Shakti, that is to say, they are different potencies of Lord Vishnu. That energy is para, transcendental. Living entities also belong to the superior energy, as has already been explained. The other energies, or material energies, are in the mode of ignorance. At the time of death, we can either remain in the inferior energy of this material world or we can transfer to the energy of the spiritual world. In life, we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or the spiritual energy. There are so many literatures which fill our thoughts with the material energy, newspapers, novels, etc. Our thinking, which is now absorbed in these literatures, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas, etc. The Puranas are not imaginative, they are historical records. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is the following verse: Maya Mugdha Jeever Nahi Swatah Krishna Jnan Jeever Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Puran. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 20, verse 122. The forgetful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord and they are engrossed in thinking of material activities. Just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky, Krishna has given a great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Vedas into four, then he explained them in the Puranas, and for less capable people, he wrote the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is given the Bhagavad Gita. Then all Vedic literature is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra, and for further guidance, he gave a natural commentation on the Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. We must always engage our minds in reading these Vedic literatures. Just as materialists engage their minds in reading newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures, we must transfer our reading to these literatures which are given to us by Vyasadeva. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord, and He guarantees the result. There is no doubt. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 7. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya mayyarpita mano buddhir mame vaishyasya samshayaha. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me, and at the same time, you should continue your prescribed duty and fight. With your mind and activities always fixed on me, and everything engaged in me, you will attain to me without any doubt. He does not advise Arjuna to simply remember him and give up his occupation. No, the Lord never suggests anything impractical. In this material world, in order to maintain the body, one has to work. Human society is divided according to work into four divisions of social order: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The Brahmana class or intelligent class is working in one way, the Kshatriya or administrative class is working in another way, and the mercantile class and the laborers are all tending to their specific duties. In the human society, whether one is a laborer, merchant, warrior, administrator, or farmer, or even if one belongs to the highest class and is a literary man, a scientist, or a theologian, he has to work in order to maintain his existence. The Lord therefore tells Arjuna that he need not give up his occupation, but while he is engaged in his occupation, he should remember Krishna. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death. Lord Chaitanya also advises this. He says that one should practice remembering the Lord by chanting the names of the Lord always. The names of the Lord and the Lord are non different. So, Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna to remember me and Lord Chaitanya's injunction to always chant the names of Lord Krishna are the same instruction. There is no difference because Krishna and Krishna's name are non different. In the absolute status, there is no difference between reference and referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting His names and molding our life's activities in such a way that we can remember Him always. How is this possible? The Acharyas give the following example. If a married woman is attached to another man, or if a man has an attachment for a woman other than his wife, then the attachment is to be considered very strong. One with such an attachment is always thinking of the loved one. The wife who is thinking of her lover is always thinking of meeting him even while she is carrying out her household chores. In fact, she carries out her household work even more carefully so her husband will not suspect her attachment. Similarly, we should always remember the Supreme Lover, Sri Krishna, and at the same time perform our material duties very nicely. A strong sense of love is required here. If we have a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then we can discharge our duty and at the same time remember Him. But we have to develop that sense of love. Arjuna, for instance, was always thinking of Krishna. He was the constant companion of Krishna, and at the same time, he was a warrior. Krishna did not advise him to give up fighting and go to the forest to meditate. We will close here. We will continue to read in tomorrow's session. I request all of you to please join us every day at 1:30 p.m. For the reading session. I also request you to please post at least one point of interest or one striking point that you got from today's reading session in your respective WhatsApp groups. Thank you so much. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज. अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. Give up all varieties of religiousness and just surrender unto me, and in return I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66. Thus, the Lord takes all responsibility for one who surrenders unto Him, and He indemnifies all the reactions of sin. One cleanses himself daily by taking a bath in water, but one who takes his bath only once in the sacred Ganges water of the Bhagavad Gita cleanses away all the dirt of material life. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, mankind is so absorbed with mundane activities that it is not possible to read all of the Vedic literatures. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literatures and because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said that one who drinks the water of the Ganges certainly gets salvation, but what to speak of one who drinks the waters of the Bhagavad Gita? Gita is the very nectar of the Mahabharata, spoken by Vishnu himself, for Lord Krishna is the original Vishnu. It is nectar emanating from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Ganges is said to be emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Supreme Lord. But in our position, we can appreciate that the Bhagavad Gita is even more important than the Ganges. The Bhagavad Gita is just like a cow, and Lord Krishna, who is a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. The milk is the essence of the Vedas, and Arjuna is just like a calf. The wise men, the great sages, and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. In this present day, man is very eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion, and one occupation. So let there be one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. And let there be one God only for the whole world, Sri Krishna. And one mantra only, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And let there be one work only, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With this, the introduction is concluded. Let's continue to read. The disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 2. This Bhagavad Gita as it is received through this disciplic succession. 1. Krishna. 2. Brahma. 3. Narada. 4. Vyasa. 5. Madhva. 6. Padmanabha. 7. Narahari. 8. Madhava. 9. Akshobhya. 10. Jayatirtha. 11. Jnana Sindhu. 12. Dayanidhi. 13. Vidyanidhi. 14. Rajendra. 15. Jayadharma. 16. Purushottama. 17. Brahmanya Tirtha. 18. Vyasa Tirtha. 19. Lakshmipati. 20. Madhavendra Puri. 21. Ishwarapuri. Nityananda Advaita. 22. Lord Chaitanya. 23. Rupa Swarupa Sanatana. 24. Raghunatha Jiva. 25. Krishna Dasa. 26. Narottama. 27. Vishwanatha. 28. Baladeva Jagannatha. 29. Bhakti Vinoda. 30. Gaur Kishora. 31. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. 32. His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Now we shall begin the chapter 1. Chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 1. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamakaः Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Synonyms. Dhritarashtraha, King Dhritarashtra. Uvacha said. Dharmakshetre, in the place of pilgrimage. Kurukshetre, in the place named Kurukshetra. Samavetaha, assembled. Yuyutsavaha, desiring to fight. Mamakaha, my party or sons. Pandavaha, the sons of Pandu. Cha, and. Eva, certainly. Kim, what? Akurvata, did they do? Sanjaya, O Sanjaya. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after assembling in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, being desirous to fight? Purport. Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, or the glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretation. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya, as described in the Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was personally present on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyasa and therefore By the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so, Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons headed by Yudhishthira would be established by the law. This is the significance of the words Dharmakshetre and Kurukshetre apart from their historical and Vedic importance. Text 2. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanīkam Vyūಢam Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravīt. Synonyms. Sanjaya Sanjaya Uvacha said Drishtva after seeing tu but Pandava Anikam the soldiers of the Pandavas Vyudham arranged in military phalanx Duryodhanaha King Duryodhana Tada at that time Acharyam the teacher Upasangamya approaching nearby Raja the king Vachanam words Abravit spoke. Translation. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and began to speak the following words. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. He wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king, and thus he warned him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander in chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. Text 3. Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamom Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Synonyms. Pashya, behold. Etam, this. Panduputranam, of the sons of Pandu. Acharya, O teacher. Mahatim, great. Chamum, military force. Vyudham, arranged. Drupada Putrena, by the son of Drupada, Tava, your, Shishyena, disciple, Bhimata, very intelligent. Translation. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander in chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military phalanx after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this, he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna, especially, was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. We shall continue to read the next verses in tomorrow's session, in the next session. Thank you all for your time. Please don't forget to share one or two striking points from today's reading, either with me personally or on the group. If you are on the group, please post on the group. Thank you so much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Gita as it is, by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 1, entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 4. अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा भीमार्जुनसमायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः. Synonyms. Atra, here. Shuraha, Shuraha, heroes. Maheshwasaha, mighty bowmen. Bhima Arjuna, Bhima and Arjuna. Sama, Samaha, equal. Yudhi, in the fight. Yuyudhanaha, Yuyudhana. Virataha, Virata. Cha, also. Drupadaha, Drupada. Cha, also. Maharathaha, great fighter. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Here in this army there are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. There are also great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada. Purport. Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were the cause of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Text 5. दृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैभ्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः Synonyms Drishtaketuhu Drishtaketu Chekitanaha Chekitana Kashirajaha Kashiraja Cha also Viryavan very powerful Purujit Purujit Kunti Bhojaha Kunti Bhoja Cha and Shaibhyaha Shaibhya Cha and Narapungavaha heroes in human society. Translation. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Shaibya. Text 6. युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्ता उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः. Synonyms. Yudhamanyuhu Yudhamanyu Cha and Vikrantaha mighty Uttamaujaha Uttamauja Cha and Viryavan very powerful Saubhadraha the son of Subhadra Draupadeyaha the sons of Draupadi Cha and Sarve all Eva certainly Maharathaha great chariot fighters. Translation. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Text 7. अस्माकं तु विशिष्टाये तान्निबोध द्विजोत्तम नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते. Synonyms. Asmakam our two but Vishishtaha especially powerful Ye those Tan them Nibodha just take note be informed Dvijottama the best of the Brahmanas Nayakaha captains Mama my Sainyasya of the soldiers Sanya artham for information. Tan them. Bravimi I am speaking. Te your. Translation. O best of the Brahmanas, for your information, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Text 8. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitinjayah Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadattistatthaiva cha. Synonyms. Bhavan, yourself. Bhishmaha, grandfather Bhishma. Cha, also. Karnaha, Karna. Cha, and. Kripaha, Kripa. Cha, and. Samitinjayaha, always victorious in battle. Ashwathama, Ashwathama. Vikarnaha, Vikarna. Cha, as well as. Saumadattihi, the son of Somadatta. Tatha, and as. Eva, certainly. Cha, and. Translation. There are personalities like yourself, Bhishma, Karna, Krupa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Purport. Duryodhana mentioned the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya, and Saumadatti or Bhurishrava is the son of the king of the Bahlikas. Karna is the half brother of Arjuna, as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Krupacharya married the twin sister of Dronacharya. Text 9. अन्ये च बहवः शूरा मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः. Synonyms. Anye, many others. Cha, also. Bahavaha, in great numbers. Shuraha, heroes. Madarthe, for my sake. Tyakta jivitaha, prepare to risk life. Nana, many. Shastra, weapons. Praharanaha, equipped with. Sarve, all of them. Yuddha, battle. Visharadaha, experienced in military science. Translation. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. Purport. As far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritavarma, Shalya, etc., all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confident of his victory on account of the above mentioned combined strength of his friends. Text 10. अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम्. Synonyms. Aparyaptam, immeasurable. Tat, that. Asmakam, of ours. Balam, strength. Bhishma, by grandfather Bhishma. Abhirakshitam, perfectly protected. Paryaptam, limited. Tu, but. Idam, all these. Etesham, of the Pandavas. Balam, strength. Bhima, by Bhima. Abhirakshitam, carefully protected. Translation. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Purport. Herein, an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general, Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. Text 11. अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि. Synonyms. Ayaneshu, in the strategic points. Cha, also. Sarveshu, everywhere. Yatha bhagam, as they are differently arranged. Avasthitaha, situated. Bhishmam, unto grandfather Bhishma. Eva, certainly. Abhirakshantu, support may be given. Bhavantaha, all of you. Sarve, respectively. Eva, certainly. He, and exactly. Translation. Now all of you must give full support to Grandfather Bhishma, standing at your respective strategic points in the phalanx of the army. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Deva was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes would not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Deva. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya in the battle because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice while she was being forced to strip naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that all such affection would now be completely given up by them, as was customary during the gambling performances. Text 12. तस्य सञ्जनयन् हर्षं कुरु वृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्छैः शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान्. Synonyms: Tasya, his; Sanjanayan, increasing; Harsham, cheerfulness; Kuru Vridhaha, the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, Bhishma; Pitamahaha, the grandfather; Simhanadam, roaring sound, like a lion; Vinadya, vibrating; Uchchaihi, very loudly; Shankham, conch shell; Dadbhau, blue; Pratapavan, the valiant. Translation. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, like the sound of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Purport. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. Text 13. ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च प्रणवानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तुमुलोऽभवत्. Synonyms: Tataha, thereafter; Shankhaha, conch shells; Cha, also; Bheryaha, bugles; Cha, and; Panava Anaka, trumpets and drums; Gomukhaha, horns; Sahasa, all of a sudden; Eva, certainly; Abhyahanyanta, being simultaneously sounded; Saha, that; Shabdaha, combined sound; Tumulaha, tumultuous; Abhavat, became. Translation. After that, the conch shells, bugles, trumpets, drums, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Text 14. ततश्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः. Synonyms. Tataha thereafter, Shvetaihi by white, Hayaihi horses, Yukte being yoked with, Mahati in the great, Syandane chariot, Sthitau so situated, Madhavaha Krishna the husband of the goddess of fortune, Pandavaha Arjuna the son of Pandu, Cha also, eva certainly, divyau transcendental, shankhau conch shells, pradadmatuhu sounded. Translation. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Purport. In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Deva, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Panduputranam Yesham Pakshe Janardanaha. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu, because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there, because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated was donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna, and this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Text 15. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjayah Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhima Vrukodaraha. Synonyms. Panchajanyam, the conch shell named Panchajanya. Hrishikeshaha, Hrishikesha, Krishna, the Lord who directs the senses of the devotees. Devadattam, the conch shell named Devadatta. Dhananjayaha, Dhananjaya, Arjuna, the winner of wealth. Poundram, the conch named Poundram. Dadmau, blue. Mahashankham, the terrific conch shell. Bhima Karma, one who performs Herculean tasks. Vrukodaraha, the voracious eater, Bhima. Translation. Then Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundram. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna is referred to as Hrishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity, and in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Hrishikesha. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavana. His name is Partha Sarathi because he worked as charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Hrishikesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrukodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So, the particular types of conch shell blown by different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other hand, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So, they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. Text 16 to 18. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakulah Sahadevascha Sughosho Manipushpakau Kashyascha Parameshwasah Shikhandi cha Maharathah दृष्ट्य दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक्. Synonyms: Anantavijayam, the conch named Anantavijaya; Raja, the king; Kunti Putraha, the son of Kunti; Yudhishthiraha, Yudhishthira; Nakulaha, Nakula; Sahadevaha, Sahadeva; Cha, and Sughoshamani Pushpakau, the conches named Sughosha and Manipushpaka; Kashyaha, the king of Kashi or Varanasi; Cha, and Parameshwasaha, the great archer; Shikhandi, Shikhandi; Cha, also; Maharathaha, one who can fight alone against thousands; Drishtadyumnaha, Drishtadyumna, the son of King Drupada; Virataha, Virata, the prince who gave shelter to the Pandavas while they were in disguise; Cha, also; Satyakihi, Satyaki, the same as Yuyudhana, the charioteer of Lord Krishna; Cha, and Aparajitaha, who were never vanquished before; Drupadaha, Drupada, the king of Panchala; Draupadeyaha, the sons of Draupadi; Cha, also; Sarvashaha, all; Prithivipate, O king; Saubhadraha, the son of Subhadra, Abhimanyu; Cha, also; Mahabahuhu, greatly armed; Shankhan, conch shells; Dadmuhu, blue; Pruthak, Pruthak, each separately. Translation: King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva blew the Sughosha and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, The great fighter Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, and the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the son of Subhadra, greatly armed, all blew their respective conch shells. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle, beginning with the grandsire Bhishma down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from the many states of the world. All were present there and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. Text 19. सघोषोधार्तराष्ट्राणां हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलोऽभ्यनुनादयन्. Synonyms. Saha, that. Ghoshaha, vibration. Dhartarashtraanam, of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Hridayani, hearts. Vyadarayat, shattered. Nabhaha, the sky. Cha, also. Prithivim, the surface of the earth. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Tumulaha, uproarious. Abhyanunadayan, by resounding. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, and thus vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Purport. When Bhishma and the others on the side of the Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heart-breaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. We will close here. We will continue the reading tomorrow. Every day we have this Bhagavad Gita reading session at 1:30 p.m. So please do join. And today we had it in the evening now at 6 o'clock, but generally every day it will be at 1:30 p.m. Thank you very much. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Hare Krishna.